Hi, it's Anna here. Thanks for tuning in. So today I want to discuss the fact that growth is experiential. So on this path, especially if you had an awakening and your ascension path has been through narcissism, or your entire life has been through narcissism, which has been me, and you've had an awakening to what's going on in the external world as well, there can be a lot of fear that happens, where we basically become resistant to enjoying life and welcoming experiences. So this looks like people being afraid to go out dating, for example, because they feel like all they do is attract narcissists. Being afraid to even go out there and try to make new friends. And so it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy where you are feeling lonely and isolated, but you're also sort of like perpetuating the isolation and the loneliness because you're afraid to go out there and try to meet people, right? So this is the worst thing that we can be doing for growth. And obviously I understand the fear, but growth happens through those experiences, and we need to build the fortitude to be able to go through those experiences, right? So the inner work process of highlighting our patterns and our wounds happens through going through these experiences, right? Because then you can assess actually where you're at, and what you still have to work on, but also actually pushing through that fear, right? You can't release the fear without going through an experience that will, make you sort of like overcome that fear, right? It's the same as, when you're afraid to public speak, for example. You're going to have to build the muscle by doing it little by little, by practicing public speaking until it becomes second nature, until you've built that muscle so strongly that you can speak in front of a room of 100 people and no longer want to run to the bathroom, right? So it's the same here. When we are afraid and we block ourselves, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm seeing it with people, right? We are blocking our growth. What we need to be doing on this path is to build that inner trust. And once, you build that inner trust muscle by going out there and welcoming experiences, going through them, assessing what it's trying to tell you, and readjusting and, practicing putting boundaries with people. You're going to have to actually do that. Growth happens in your life. The awakening path happens within your life. You can't make it happen by just staying in isolation in your house by yourself. There are moments where obviously where you need that, and it should always be soul-led. But the problem happens when your soul is clearly trying to push you to go out and do these things, and then you're blocking it because you're afraid. If you are in a situation where you go out and date and you're attracting narcissists, you need to actually put those boundaries. Those experiences are happening so you can, as an opportunity for expression, so you can practice speaking up, identifying the red flag, being like, no, I'm not having that, because the shifts need to happen on the inside, right? It's a frequency shift, and that can't happen without experiences. We can't make those shifts happen by just reading a book and sitting at home and trying to like shift it. It just doesn't happen. It happens through experiences. So the purpose of this video today is to try to inspire you to not stay in that fear, or to feel the fear and do it anyway. To push through the fear and do the hard thing. Push through the fears and have the courage to go through those experiences. And sometimes on this path we're going to attract very difficult experiences. So, these things do happen, and I understand that it can be scary and you can think that you're doing things wrong, but those experiences ultimately will bring you to your liberation if you don't resist it, if you let the inner work process happen. So that fear that you might be feeling is not wrong. It's basically needs to be released. And so you're not doing anything wrong if it's hard for you to go out there and meet people and you're a bit anxious. And I know that I was like that at some point because I kept attracting people with weak fields that used to project negatively on me. But the path is experiential. It's not an intellectual process. It's not a mental process. We need the experiences not only to assess where we're at, but also to identify our patterns, our wounds, our fears, and have the opportunity to release them through the experience. It's a lot easier to release fear and patterns through an experience than just sitting on your couch. Because the problem is when you are isolating yourself at home, you might think that you've worked through things and you're doing well, until then you go out there and you're like, I don't understand. I thought I had worked through all this and it's still coming up, because you can't really assess where you're at in isolation. So the best thing you can be doing is to focus on inner trust and go out there and welcome those experiences, go through them, practice picking up, practice putting those boundaries. And the beauty of this as well is that when you meet different people, it expands your awareness as well, because that's the beauty of interactions with people, right? You meet people from so many different walks of life, and that has the effect to help you on your consciousness evolution path. So another thing that we need to be mindful of is not to isolate ourselves into a belief bubble, right? To be in an echo chamber. It's very important to still be open to meeting different people who don't necessarily believe in everything you believe in, because that will make for very rich and deeper interactions, and that will actually help you shift some blind spots that you may be having. And again, same with when you're on social media and you see things that might trigger you sometimes. The worst thing that we can be doing is to block everyone and block all the people that disagree with you, because then you come to an echo chamber where you can no longer grow. That's the problem with the algorithm, right? The social media algorithm is sort of feeding you the same thing that you're liking, and that's a problem, because then we're never actually being challenged with our belief system, and we can't really identify our blind spots. So I like to open myself up to a wide range of content, even ones that I don't agree with, because I want to feel into it. I want to see what maybe that I have a blind spot. Maybe I'm locked into a belief system, and that's happened many times where I had to push through the discomfort. I had to sit with it, keep being triggered, feel into it, try to understand what's going on, and see that sometimes I'm locking myself into an identity, a belief system, a bias. So this is the video today. It's basically an invitation to understand that life is there for us. This is actually a school. We're here to grow. I know it can be hard on this awakening path, because when you wake up to so much, there can be a lot of fear that happens, but that fear needs to be released. On the other side is just so much peace and freedom, and building that inner trust muscle is an amazing feeling. Like when I did that last year, I just felt like an entirely new person. I came to a point where I felt like it doesn't matter actually what comes my way. I know that I can navigate anything. And that's the paradox, right? Because once you go through these difficult experiences, once you practice all that stuff, once you rise in frequency, those toxic people, those things that you fear, they can't actually reach you anymore. So that's the paradox. You need to go through it to get to the other side. You need to go through the pain to release all these limitations and this feeling and come to a place of fullness. So I hope this is helpful. Go out there, live your life, don't fall into dogma, welcome experiences and grow through them. Use them as fuel. Become the alchemist that you're meant to be. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.